That's right, everybody. We're live, pal. It's another wrestling episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns. As always, it's your guy, Bully Rye. And in order to talk professional wrestling, we got to have our wrestling show co-host, PJ Steven, with us. PJ, what's going on, bud?
What is up? It's a wonderful, wonderful day here. I'm sorry I'm not in my usual studio kind of thing. We're doing some renovations on the kitchen, putting some shelves in and stuff. So my table is taken over with stuff. And then I can't do it in the bedroom, my other stuff, because Lauren and I are currently in quarantine, which is super fun. So I'm out of work until Saturday, and she's out of work until God knows when. So that's why you're looking at two paintings of The Undertaker, and you're in a very low-lit room. And there's also Duke up there, which is the bobcat that my dad killed, which is always super fun to have.
So hold on. You're in quarantine, so I don't know if you want to get into it. I know Lauren posted on social media that she had tested positive for COVID, which COVID's still a thing here in 2023. Did you test positive as well? Or...
Yeah, I did. I just didn't say anything about it, but yeah, I totally did.
Oh man!
I mean, we sleep in the same bed, and my tongue's in her mouth. So yeah, I'm gonna test positive for COVID-19.
Listen, I caught COVID back in 2021. I was in a house with a cousin. Unfortunately, I had another cousin who was in a bad way, and it was around the holidays, and my cousin and his kids and his wife had all tested negative. They were waiting to get there, like the big one. This is, if you remember back when COVID was happening, it was you had like the rapid test and then like the full on test that you get later in the mail. And my understanding was that he tested positive later on, but he stayed in the house with my mom that was also living there, and I got COVID from him, but my mom never got it. My mom never got it. So it's a wild virus that we're going through. Real quick, first of all,
that virus ain't real. What it is, it's the government coming in to putting mind chips in your brain so you think you got the COVID-19. Yeah, that's some Jesse Ventura stuff. But no, this is my like third or fourth time getting it. The first time I got it, man, I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but the first time I got it, I lost my taste and smell for a full year. I mean, for a full year, I couldn't taste anything. Could you imagine? I want you to
I like food too much. I'm thinking about it right now.
No. You know what the weirdest thing was? The weirdest thing, and you're not going to think of this, but the weirdest thing was I couldn't taste my toothpaste. So it was like just brushing with nothing. Like,
that's super weird.
And like Listerine. It was just swirling water, sudsy, disgusting water that I knew in my head I couldn't swallow. It was, I mean, that was the worst.
What a weird, wacky time and a weird, wacky virus. First of all, let's get into the show real quick. I want to thank everybody for joining us live on social media, facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, Twitter @tapouts and TDs, or you can follow the YouTube channel. Got a couple comments in. First of all, Joe coming in, giving his well wishes to you, and then Volley Polly coming in.
Yeah, Joe doesn't care if you get well. Just me and Lauren. Love you, Joe.
I would imagine so. I mean, I don't.
You know what? I gotta say, I cannot. I meant to text Joe the other day. I'm so excited. I don't know if I've already said this on the show. I think I have said this on the show. Joe and I are going to Vegas for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I cannot wait. I actually meant to share him the match card. But there's someone on the card that I will see for the very first time. That's someone that I love, that I forgot to get the little button for, but I'm not going to worry about it because that's outside. I can't go out there. But I'm going to, for the first time, see a legendary wrestler of Japan. Can you guess who it is?
That you've never seen before?
I've never seen. He's on a lot of like preliminary Wrestle Kingdom cards and things like that.
And he's wrestling on the show.
In just a tag team match. But I mean, he's still wrestling on the show. I still get to see him. Can you guess who it is?
Shingo Takagi?
No, I've seen Shingo. He was at Forbidden Door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea then.
Older. One more time. Try one more time. Older. We're talking Ultimo Dragon era kind of stuff.
Well, Jushin Thunder Liger and Great Muta both retired.
They're retired,
So
and we've seen both of them at G1 Supercard.
I'm assuming maybe Masahiro Chono.
That would have been awesome. But no, I will get to see Tiger Mask for the first time. He's
Wow.
on the card. I'm so excited. Um, I love Tiger Mask. I love his matches. I've got a Tiger Mask pin that's a vintage Japanese pin that was given to me years ago by Billy Metz, actually. So Billy doesn't watch the show, but I do love Billy. But man, yeah, Tiger Mask. I'm so excited for it. And I have not given that information to Joe, so this might be the first time that he's hearing it.
Well, I'm glad that you love Billy, considering Billy doesn't love you enough to watch the show
That's
with
true.
us. Again, if you come to watch the show on social media, make sure you leave a comment wherever it is that you're watching, so we can read it live here on the show, because we got a lot to get to. It's been a few weeks since we've actually had a live show talking pro wrestling, so we've missed a couple of premium live events / pay-per-views in professional wrestling. We're going to get into the first one that we missed on this show, and that's AEW All In 2023. It took place August the 27th, 2023 at Wembley Stadium in London, England. I believe the attendance that they announced was 81,035. The tagline is that it was the biggest event in wrestling. Apparently, they wanted to make it very clear that this was the most paid attendance in pro wrestling history. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but a lot of hype. I say a lot of hype. The big to do about the show was that they didn't have a whole lot of shows or a whole lot of matches lined up for this card within like the last month. But boy, did they get after it.
I mean, they practically sold it out without even announcing
80
any
matches.
participants. Yeah.
Yeah. So a really fun show. If you didn't get to watch it, make sure you go and check it out wherever you can, whether you want to do the illegal stream or if you want to go I believe New Japan has AEW content on their site. I could be wrong.
Not all the time. Not all the time. Excuse me. Not all the time. But yes, sometimes they do. But this one was not on there. I checked.
Well, I think that there's a reason why you should go out and watch the show, because I didn't have high expectations and it overachieved. It overcame my hesitation about it. So let's get right into it. First and foremost, we had two matches on what they're calling the buy-in. First, the first match on the card, Better Than You, Baby, taking on Aussie Open, team featuring Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Again, if you've been paying attention to AEW, there's a storyline where Adam Cole and MJF have become best friends and went through this whole tag team tournament to compete for the AEW tag titles. They didn't win. So now we get them on the opening match of the card because they would main event the show in Wembley against each other for the AEW World Championship. But Adam Cole and MJF go over and win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships here. PJ, I didn't get to watch this. Shout out to Jordan Baxley. I went to his house first match. So I did not get to see the buy-in matches. What were your thoughts on this match? I mean, I'm assuming it was good. I saw they won with a double clothesline or something like that. So what were your thoughts on this match?
It was a great match. It was quick, 7 minutes, 45 seconds. I really enjoyed it, and I love Aussie Open. Hearing the entire UK crowd just chant, Aussie, 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 great stuff. Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, of course, of Aussie Open part of the United Empire, led by Will Ospreay, who we'll definitely see later in a great match. Loved the match, and I really expected some turmoil there between Adam Cole and MJF, but we're going to get to obviously the main event later where, we see what happens. But that didn't happen. So I really like the unpredictability of it. And I like the unpredictability of them going over, which I really enjoyed. This match was fun.
Yeah, I was one of them in the minority that was hoping that they were going to put off the dissension of Adam Cole and MJF and the heel turn, so to speak, and they have up to this point. I mean, we're in September. This show took place going on 3 weeks ago now, and they're still the reigning Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So I'm really loving this. Next up on the buy-in, it was rumor or Jack Perry, formerly known as Jungle Boy Jack Perry, came out and basically said he was going to retire the FTW Championship, and instead he's challenged by Hook former champion, son of Taz, and Hook would defeat Jack Perry, I believe, by submission. I should mention the tag team title match went 7 minutes 45 seconds. This match went 8 minutes and 20 seconds as Hook becomes a 2-time FTW champion. Again, I didn't get to see this, but I'm sort of liking the Jack Perry in heel mode with this run. I've also heard some bad things behind the scenes, and we're going to get there in a second. But there's a guy that I listen to that has a source or has someone that's very well to do and well to know in AEW, and he's basically come out and said that Jack Perry is not a nice dude in real life. He's sort of pretentious. He's got the nepotism, gene in him, so to speak. So maybe the heel turn is fitting Jack Perry well. Before we go into what happens post match, PJ, give us your thoughts on Hook versus Jack Perry here in the buy-in.
I want to ask you a question. What's the definition of a real title belt?
I mean, we haven't gotten there yet, but as far as like one that you can see, I suppose. I mean, I've got a championship belt for my fantasy football league.
So what's the difference between the FTW belt and the Intercontinental belt? Are they still two belts being defended?
You always like to say that they're props, so.
And that's my point. So a lot of people with this match were saying that it doesn't matter because the FTW is not a real belt. And I challenged them to define what's a real belt. What's a real belt?
I mean, establishing it with some sort of prestige. I mean, I'm not sure. The FTW title was introduced to ECW basically for Taz to hold a title. I don't know. I can't answer that question because none of them are real.
Nobody can answer that question who argues it, which is insane to me because, of course.
Wesley Marks argue it, man.
This match was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to start off with the spot that where Jack Perry is going to be knocked on the windshield of a car. And he's going to look at the camera and say, "Rio Glass, go cry me a river." And that's going to come into play with what we're going to talk about later on post-match that I really just want to speed through. But this was a good match. I got to say, though, I'm still not sold on why Hook is so popular, besides the fact that he's Taz's kid. I think he's a great talent. And he, when he wins the title and then he's at the strip club the next day, like, that's awesome. Good for you, buddy. But I just don't care. I do say that he's a talented young man and could probably beat the snot out of me. So, not judging him in that noise. Whatever. Darby Allin
could beat him up. Darby Allin couldn't. No, Darby maybe with a skateboard, but Hook. I'm with you. Hook's a scrawny dude. I don't get the mystique. Like he's got the anime hair. I just don't get it. Real quick, I do want to shout out Mama Frick in the chat, watching the show with us tonight.
Hello, Mama Frick.
Hey, Mom.
And I what? I feel bad too. I didn't say good evening to Mr. Pauly, so I apologize. What's up, man? Good evening. Good to see you.
It's all good. Pauly, he'll be all right. His Vols have a big game this weekend coming up against the Florida Gators.
His balls? His what?
The Vols. The Volunteers of Tennessee. The Tennessee Volunteers.
Why are they called the Volunteers? Are they not really playing?
They're doing it for free. That's why they're called the Volunteers. I have no idea. It's a Tennessee thing. I wish I could.
That's a dumb name.
So Joe comes in. Do get the Hook hype. He's gets the
Final Fantasy hair. Okay, I
guess that's it.
Hey, it makes sense. Honestly, I'm down for the Final Fantasy. That's all Joe and I. That's all Joe and I did in Chicago. Besides, like eat. We went to like vintage game stores and stuff, and then we always mark out about that. I've still got one of the coolest videos, and we're gonna repeat the video in Vegas. One of the best videos I got is him like taking a bite of this French toast, and he's just like, like it's really funny. And then one video I took, I was just looking at skyscrapers, and all of a sudden you hear Joe in the background go, "That was a Bumble date," and I was like, "How do you know?" And he goes, "Because he just said like, nice to meet you, see you later," and I said, "Oh man, like, do you think it went well?" And he was like, "It might have." And I said, "Should we go ask her?" And he goes, "No." And the camera I turned the video off. But That's one of my favorite videos. That's what that time in Chicago
Uh,
with me. It was Ian, Joe, Morgan, and someone else was there. Why can't I think of the guy's name that was there with us? But all
was
of
it?
us had a
Was it? Oh my gosh! Why can't I say his name? Was it Andre? Was Andre there with you?
no, it wasn't Andre. It wasn't Andre. But man, we all five of us had a fantastic time. I loved it. But me and Joe, man, like that was the best time I've had with somebody in a long time, and I can't wait to do it again in Vegas. But moving on from my personal things, let's get into. I know you're itching to
Yeah.
talk about it, so let's just talk
Listen.
about it.
First of all, I want to shout out getting some love here on the Facebook page. Pedro in here watching along with Kirk Williams, Fuzi B. We got some more comments, fast and heavy in the chat here.
Very nice.
Joe saying good times. My
Yeah,
mom
dog.
comes in and says the belt is just a trophy, prop given to the winner, no real belt. So she's
Mama
right there
gets
with
it.
you.
Mama gets it, and that's why me and her click. Vegas, baby, big
And
time,
then
big
and
time.
then Pedro says it's just
glass.
glass.
Pedro, I need you to message me your address so I can send you that book that you won on my stream like earlier this year. I never got around to that because I was stuck in the middle of the move and all that. But I still you paid me for it. I still owe you a comic book. So send me your address. I'll take care of you. And Obvious Liars, check those guys out. There's a really great band in Charleston. I think they're playing Myrtle Beach here soon, I believe, or they already did. I can't keep up anymore. Obvious Liars is one of the few Charleston bands that's still together since for some reason there's a curse down there. 3 bands broke up in a matter of 2 days. So, but you know who didn't break up was probably somebody broke up at All In, but
Oh, somebody definitely broke up at All In.
someone cut some ties with somebody at All In, and that's what Frick is just itching to talk about. And
Yeah.
I keep interrupting him because I
No,
don't want
you're
to
not.
talk about it.
Listen, you're not interrupting anything. It's just kind of the flow of the show. So after Jungle Boy or after Jack Perry, after the match is over with, there's some backstory because he and CM Punk get into an altercation. Apparently there were some ideas being thrown around for a match, and Jungle Boy wanted to use real glass for a spot, and CM Punk basically shot it down. Like that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
So the when he looked in the camera and said real glass, it was a direct shot at CM Punk.
Yeah, Real Glass, Crimea River is what he said.
So he goes backstage, and I'm not sure there's still debate on who started what, but CM Punk and Jack Perry got in each other's face. They had to be separated. What is this? Change the record. CM Punk's already had this happen with the Elite. He missed 2 or 3 months from a suspension that he coined as an injury, whatever the case is. And this is leading into the start of the show, the start of the main card here at All In. And so they were concerned because the opening match of the show was CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe for the Real World Championship, talking about real belts.
Yeah, right.
Um,
And Samoa Joe was the one who actually broke up the fight between Punk and Perry.
so they supposedly they had some matches on deck in case Punk couldn't get out there right away. But without a hitch, we get the match. CM Punk, Samoa Joe, the Real World Championship. In my opinion, probably the worst match on the card. It's been very well documented, my feelings on Phil Brooks. I don't like the fact that they used Samoa Joe to get Phil Brooks over, considering it was that you've never beaten me, and now he's beaten him twice in the matter of a month.
Yeah.
And so CM Punk retains his World Championship, but it wouldn't matter for very long because less than a week after this happened, there's an investigation done, a la the backstage garbage with the Elite, and CM Punk is released from AEW. Tony Khan came out and put out a video, basically said that in his career promoting these shows, he has never felt that his safety or his life was in danger until supposedly CM Punk lunged at him at one point.
That's what the story is that he gets Punk, he gets Perry in like a guillotine choke or guillotine choke, and then he drops Perry and then goes after Khan, and then Samoa Joe is the one who kind of breaks it up. Just supposedly. I mean, we don't know exactly what happened there, but we do know that CM Punk made an ass of himself as he's done before,
as he's prone to do.
Yeah,
So,
the people who are defending, Punk and just saying like, well, he didn't want to use real glass. that's not up to him, that he's looking out for his safety and all that, are the same people that think that, like, well, why don't they do Inferno matches anymore? So it's so weird to me. Um, you know, the big tweet by Jim Cor or no Vince Russo, who was like, if you felt threatened, then you shouldn't be in this business. And it's like, dude, imagine defending like workplace violence. I mean, these guys are in a whole different career, but it's still their work. They clock in, they clock out, they get paid. I mean, and I'm totally biased because I hate Phil Brooks, so it's whatever. Um, but I'm glad he's gone. I never want to see him in a ring again. To the people who are saying that he should go to the WWE, that he should go to Impact or New Japan, let me just tell you something. He couldn't roll with a young lion in New Japan, much less an Okada. He needs to stay out and stay at home, taking care of the house while his wife does the job.
So you mentioned that Volleyball come in and says that he's seen a lot of talk that CM Punk is WWE bound. Selling that because I saw a video where Seth Rollins was asked about CM Punk, and he basically called Phil Brooks a
Get
cancer to
out.
stay
Yeah, he's a
away.
cancer.
Um,
Paulie, if you're selling that, I'm not buying, okay? And I don't think anybody really truly is.
yeah, so
I know what you meant by that, though. I just, but yeah, no one wants him anywhere. He's like the guy on like The Bachelor that's like the most toxic, but they bring him back as a ratings. But everyone's like, seriously, don't bring that dude back. But that's my knowledge of The Bachelor right there.
I mean, listen. So the idea, obviously, CM Punk was released. He is not under contract anywhere. There's no word of whether or not there was a no compete clause. Knowing Tony Khan, there probably isn't a no compete clause. He probably doesn't care enough to look at those in contracts.
No.
But the idea, if you read the description of the show before you came in, this will be the last time. I don't care if he comes to WWE. If he gets brought up in a conversation because he's on a match on WWE TV, that's another story. But this is the last time on this show that we are going to go in depth in speaking about Phil Brooks. Real quick, Joe, but Vince isn't controlling after tonight. Doesn't want him back, but it's a possibility.
That's a good point, Joe. Joe hits a good point here. This is the final Monday Night Raw tonight, guys. Where
Vince is controlling owner.
Where it's not even, let's just take Vince in control out of the equation. This is the last Monday Night Raw where Vince owns Raw. I mean,
that's crazy. Real quick, Volley said he's not buying. He's WWE bound. Same thing. And then Pedro coming in. No more Punk. So, having said that, we're going to get this out the way. We did a whole show about Bray Wyatt, which was deserved, which is why we're only giving CM Punk about 5 minutes.
That tracks.
CM Punk had some special moments in his wrestling career. His feud with John Cena, his departure from the company with the title. We all knew he was going to come back. When he came back, they gave him Cult of Personality as an entrance song. He was the voice of the voiceless, right? He honestly, he got on the map because of his pipe bomb promo that everybody still refers to this day. Fast forward, he's in a feud with Triple H, and Triple H cuts a promo on him that I wish I had the words in front of me, but basically said, you talk about being an advocate for change, but you're only an advocate for change if it benefits you.
Yeah, that definitely felt like a shoot. I rewatched that. I showed Lauren that promo the other day, and I was like, this is to me, this is a hard shoot, in my opinion. I mean, it could have just, been a work, but to me, it felt like a shoot because Triple H has gone on record saying he did not like Phil Brooks either.
Yeah, I wish I could find the quote because there was a meme about that specific promo, and it was something along the lines of somewhere around immaturity that as a child or as immature, you tend to side with CM Punk. And as you get older and when you become an adult, you realize that maybe Triple H had it all along. Some people actually like the WWE. Could things be better? Sure, but just because it's not benefiting you doesn't mean that it's not benefiting everybody else.
And you remember there was that time period where it was like, everyone thought Triple H had a shovel. He was burying everybody, harp, harp, harp. And then there was the thing about, he buried CM Punk. And like, to your point, now we look back at it and like, well, maybe he was a reason that he needs to be buried because, I mean, maybe the only time Phil Brooks can be entertaining without being controversial is in the dirt. So,
Was
yeah,
there a time that you I wouldn't say rooted for CM Punk? Was there a time that you considered yourself a semi fan of CM Punk?
absolutely, absolutely.
When did
when he
go
was
ahead?
hungry, when he was hungry in Ring of Honor. He had
Okay.
fantastic matches in Ring of Honor. Even his days in like 99, 2001, IWA Mid South. He had great matches with AJ Styles, with Cabana, with Eddie Guerrero. I mean, he had amazing matches. Dominion in the NWA Midwest in like 2002. I was behind CM Punk for a very, very long time. Even winning the Ring of Honor World Champion in 2004, I was there, or not there, excuse me. I was watching it. Um, but he had amazing matches with Samoa Joe, a la, um, this pay-per-view here. I loved him in TNA, but when he came to Ohio with when he came to OVW and then eventually the second ECW, I was stoked. He made his ECW debut June 24th, 2006. I was stoked. He was coming out of some metal. He was coming out to, well, I'm not a big fan of Killswitch Engage, but it was
Yeah.
still more metal, a lot more metal than what you heard. And so I thought that was great. I mean,
So
he wrestled on TV on August 1st in the Hammerstein Ballroom, defeating Just Incredible. I mean, and I
yeah, that's
remember that. And I
so
remember loving it.
real quick, Mama Frick coming in saying if you read up on Punk, he's exactly the same in his real life. Mouthy, rude, opinionated, loves himself, not just a character he created. We're right there with you. So, having
You
said
can
that,
you can you can replace Punk with PJ Steven in that sentence, I think.
when did you sour on CM Punk?
Around the pipe bomb time, and by the way, him defeating John Cena, Money in the Bank, big moment. Um, Around the pipe bomb moment though, when he came back and he's doing the cult stuff and all that, I was like, man, this isn't Punk. And when he was just preaching about being straight edge, I was like, man, this is not Punk. This is weird. And at first I thought,
Like when he
man,
smashed the liquor bottle in Jeff Hardy's face?
yeah, like crap like that. If you're straight edge, you don't want to drink and you're sober, very proud of you. That's amazing. But if you go around preaching about it, it's the same way what people go around and be like, man, I drank 24 beers last night. Like, wow, you've got a problem. But like, if you're sober and you're doing the same thing, like, I mean, it just makes you look even more silly. So my thing is, and by the way, when I was young, I would do that, and then I grew up. When I was young, I would brag about, man, I had 12 shots last night. Now if like as an adult, it's like you say I had 12 shots in an hour last night. Like, wow, I'm gonna call an
How are
ambulance.
you? How are you alive? Yeah.
But yeah,
Real quick,
anyway, go ahead.
Pedro coming in. Remember when JDF wanted to fight Punk in MMA, and CM Punk pretended like he didn't know who Jason David Frank was?
Oh, I
A
forgot about
fight,
that.
a fight that I would have loved to have seen. When the time came, I said that CM Punk would never win a fight in MMA. I really wanted to see Jason David Frank fight CM Punk. Unfortunately, another one that passed away too soon in
Yeah, that
Jason
was
David
really,
Frank.
really sad. I was at work for that. That was sad.
Um,
But
but
yeah, that's about the time when I soured on it. When I just thought like, man, this is not Punk. And I thought, I was like, man, this is some creative stuff. They're writing Punk create. But now I look back on it and I'm like, no, this is probably how he was just acting. And even his lackluster matches with him and Lesnar and things like that, I really was souring out. The best match I can say that he had in that era, to me, was WrestleMania 29 with him and Taker, and that was only because of how great they pushed the storyline of, I've got Paul Bearer's ashes and all that. I love, the when
supernatural stuff. Yeah.
well, that, and I love when we blur those lines a little bit. Paul Bearer really did die. I mean, we had those little blurred lines, and plus, speaking of WrestleMania 29, it is the centerpiece of, to me, one of the greatest Undertaker entries. You just can't see because of that ceiling fan there, but
For
that was
those
one of
watching the live stream, yeah.
my favorites. But yeah, I mean, that's when I started souring on CM Punk.
I'll tell you, I've told this story before, and I'll tell it very quickly. Pedro said CM Punk on Raw or Cena on Punk. Sorry, Cena Punk on Raw was his last good Punk match right before he faced Taker. So Pedro getting some good stuff. Listen, it's well documented. CM Punk was a baby face coming to Monday Night Raw in Greenville. Basically, he was at the radio show up here that is probably the most popular radio show up here. It's called The Rise Guys. A shout out to The Rise Guys. I've won a few sets of wrestling tickets off of that show. To be honest, I sat front row because of The Rise Guys. I got to meet the Usos and the New Day thanks to The Rise Guys. So the most popular upstate radio show. CM Punk coming in as a babyface. They can sort of feel some tension. And Matt Man, one of the hosts of the show, basically alluded to something along the lines of like when people sees him in public about being a public figure. And Matt Man basically said, I get it, being in the public, being in the public eye and people recognize you and whatnot. And CM Punk big time was like, don't try to compare what it is that you do to what I do. Like there's no comparison. And just big timed this small town radio show that just got syndicated in a few states within the last year. And so the hosts of the show basically threw their hands up at this point. You know what? Let's take some calls from fans. I'm sure there's some fans that would love to talk to you. And CM Punk's response was, oh, yeah, this is a great idea. And basically went on to make fun of every single caller who called in, yet came on TV that night playing a babyface. And everybody that didn't listen to the Rise Guys that morning still continued to cheer him on. But when he came to Greenville with AEW just a few short weeks ago, he got booed out of the building so hard they wouldn't give him the microphone at the show went over after the show was over.
That's amazing.
When he big time that radio station and treated actual fans like that, the way that he left WWE because he wasn't going to get the main event, so he took his ball and went home. I lost all respect for Phil Brooks. He went on social media and basically told the fans, you know what? Basically, like the Hulk Hogan shtick when he joined the NWO. If you don't like it, you can stick it, brother. Like, I'm not here for you. I'm here for me.
Yeah, he's just a little. When he just started being, and Twitter was, I don't have Twitter or X, whatever it is, but the things that I would see on social media, him just acting like a whiny bitch. I was like, man, like where, like that's. I felt about that the way I felt about like Metallica on Some Kind of Monster, the documentary that they did. It turned somebody that I really kind of enjoyed, like Metallica, into just whiny bitches, whiny rich bitches. And I was like, man, like that really turned me off of them. Same way with Metallica of that documentary. That's how I felt about Phil Brooks tweeting out. Like everything I would read, I would just go like, wah! I mean, his first promo that he cut, I was like, he's just crying. He's just crying in the ring, and like the whole time.
And the fans eat it up. Fans ate it up.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, I don't mean crying like real tears. I mean crying like a toddler asking for juice.
Yep. Yeah. Listen,
I've spent enough time talking about CM Punk. I really don't want to talk about him anymore.
I'm gonna close the book here by saying that CM Punk in his run with AEW was marred with controversy, not good controversy. He was an average wrestler at best, with mic skills that are not on par with guys like MJF, guys like Paul Heyman, who used to be an advocate for CM Punk at WWE as well. And I will hope that we never see CM Punk on television again. Nope. I know he's probably going to have a recurring role in heels because he has in this season of the show on I believe it's Showtime or whatever the case is. If he wants to be an actor, go be an actor. I don't want to see you on WWE. I don't want to see you on Impact. I don't want to see you in Ring of Honor. I don't want to see you in New Japan. I don't want to see you again. Like PJ said, go sit at home. Let your wife earn a paycheck. A wife who, by the way, and this is probably not going to be a popular take, a wife who would probably still be wrestling had it not been for meeting CM Punk and convincing her basically to leave the company. And that's
I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right.
She was honestly at the beginning of the women's revolution when Paige, aka Saraya, took the title from her. Like, it was a big deal. And AJ Lee was a phenomenal wrestler and a phenomenal mic talent. And she meets CM Punk and it all goes downhill. And They probably got all the money in the world. But had it not been for CM Punk, I truly believe that we would still see AJ Lee in wrestling rings. So CM Punk, Phillip Brooks, good riddance. You'll probably never watch the show, and if you do, you'll probably give me some sort of scathing comment on online as you do everyone else. I don't care. Good
Yeah.
riddance. Farewell. The only time you will ever get brought up again is if you actually show up on TV and have a match, because we're not talking about your return. Where if you do go somewhere else, we're not talking about storylines. We're not talking about you getting suspended from another company. This is it. This is the last
Yeah.
time we are ever going to talk about CM Punk. You bum, blankety blank blank. All right.
Yeah, he's the reason that I stopped drinking Pepsi. All right, let's
Yeah.
move
Well,
on.
we're gonna take our first ad break real quick, and then we're gonna get into the rest of the show because we spent a lot, and we barely gotten through the first 3 matches of this card. Let's first talk about Carolina Business Equipment. With offices in Charleston, Greenville, Columbia, and Florence, Carolina Business Equipment can supply your copiers, computers, and printers anywhere in the state of South Carolina. Call my personal best friend, Aaron Thompson, at 843-452-8761 for a quote today, and make sure you tell him that Ryan from Tap Outs and Touchdowns sent you. Carolina Business Equipment, you worry about your business. Let us handle your technology. I don't want to speed through a bunch of the stuff here, but because we got a lot of matches to go, but I also don't want to go late. Next match on the card, Bullet Club Gold taking out the Golden Elite. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Takeshita got a pinfall win over, why can't I say his name? Over Kenny Omega in this match. This match goes 20 minutes and 30 seconds. I thought it was clunky, but it was still a very good match. PJ, what say you?
I won't say too much more because I did like the fact that Takeshita went over on Omega. I think that's great. I think it squashes the theory that, Omega doesn't put over talent or whatever it may be. And we're going to talk a lot about that at All Out next week when we talk about that because they're actually going to have a singles match. I want to talk real quick about Kota Ibushi. Of course, he's one of my favorite wrestlers. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because I'm being too particular with Kota Ibushi. Again, one of my favorites. He seems out of place here. And it's not because
that's the second time you've said that about him in this combo.
Well, the first time I said it because he felt out of place in a hardcore cage match. But even here, I really felt he was out of place. And I don't think it has anything to do with him, or I don't think it has anything to do with AEW or the people around him or anything. I think it's just Ibushi. I don't think he's happy. And I think it was hard for him to leave New Japan. And I think with all the controversy going on, and it's almost like I don't really want to come here. Nothing against these guys, but all my friends are here, so I'll come and I'll do some stuff. He's just off a little bit, and I think it's just he's not in the right mindset, and I hate that because I love I love Kota Ibushi. I really do. He's such a genuine dude. He's a great wrestler. Even the double what is it called? The triangle moonsault, the double triangle moonsault that he did with Omega, he was a bit of a step off, and it happens. It's pro wrestling. But it's just I'm not convinced that he loves it there. Would you
compare it? Would you compare it to the Bret Hart run in WCW?
No, it's not that bad.
Really?
No. The problem with WCW Bret Hart was they have a direction for Kota. Whereas with Bret Hart, they didn't know what to do with Bret Hart. They had him go babyface, heel, babyface, heel. They messed up Bret Hart from the very first
Starrcade.
From Starrcade. Instead of having him come out the next night on Raw, the next night on Nitro and cut a shoot promo on the Montreal Screwjob, they let him sit at home for a little bit because he was injured. Well, he can still cut promos if he's injured. Stone Cold did with a broken freaking neck. But no, I don't. It's not that bad. It's not that. If I were to compare it to anything, I mean, off the rip, maybe when like.
It doesn't have to have a comparison either.
It doesn't have to be, I guess. But if I were to compare it to something, I'd say maybe when Bob Backlund came back to WWF around like the mid '90s, where it just seemed out of place. He was defeating Bret Hart and then loses in 2 seconds to Diesel. What was it, 94 maybe? 93, 94?
Might have even
Yeah.
been 95.
I remember the match in Survivor Series because each group had a towel that they were throwing, and Owen convinces his mom Martha to throw in the towel because Bob I could have the chicken wing on Bret Hart.
Brett. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember
but
that.
yeah, if I were to compare it to something, that's what I would compare it to.
Well, again, this is going to build up to a one-on-one match with Kenny Omega and I'm going to try to say his first name. Konosuke Takeshita.
There you go. I'm proud of you.
So next up on the card, the AEW Tag Team Championships are on the line is the FTR defends against the Young Bucks, and their trilogy of matches is now complete. FTR goes over here on the Young Bucks. About what you'd expect from these two teams. Would that be an accurate way to describe it?
Yeah, I mean, 5-star match, and I'm still, you know me. I've always said not a big fan of the Young Bucks.
The
they put on a
flippy
great
floppies.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I just your only move set is a super kick. It's weird, and I don't like it. I want to talk a little bit about their entrance. They came out with the yellow vest and white pants, much like Freddie Mercury, who had, Queen had an unbelievable concert in Wembley. If you don't know, look it up, baby. I've got that vinyl actually sitting right there.
Good show.
But yeah, I'm a big fan of Queen. But yeah, great match. Loved it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
there's not really much to add.
Young Bucks putting over another more talent, putting over FTR.
These guys, these four guys know how to work with each other
And how to tell a story.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell you not to go watch FTR versus Young Bucks, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, because they're all good matches. What I will tell you is that if you're of the weak, what's the word I'm looking for? If you got a weak stomach, probably not watching the Stadium Stampede match here. The team of Eddie Kingston, Penta El Cero Miedo, and best friends Chuck Taylor and Trip Beretta, along with Orange Cassidy, take on the Blackpool Combat Club, team featuring John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, along with Mike Santana and Ortiz. So Santana and Ortiz all of a sudden teaming against Eddie Kingston. Now that I believe it was Santana that was hurt for a while. The Eddie Kingston team goes over. But we talked about this match when it was still really fresh in our minds. And I think the gratuitous violence for gratuitous violence stage for sake, I should say, I think I've grown out of it. I didn't enjoy this match at all. I will never understand repeatedly stabbing somebody in the head, in the face with a fork. At one point, they had a round of skewers and put them on John Moxley's head and pounded him into his skull. Let go, and the skewers stuck out of his head like a unicorn horn. Wooden skewers. I just don't listen. Even like the 15-year-old me that was a sort of a fan of ECW and some of the violence. When is enough? When is too much? Too much. I mean, we already saw, and you probably know his name better than I can. The headbutt in Japan that gave the Japanese talent.
Shibata.
Shibata, yeah, the Shibata spot with the headbutt that cracked his skull. I just think that this was, again, I get the idea of it. It's going to be violent. It's a 5-on-5 or 6-on-6, just locker room brawl is basically what this was. But I think I've grown out of this sort of deathmatch hardcore style. PJ, what say you?
I loved it. I loved it.
I know you did.
I loved it, but I get what you said. It was a lot. I mean, not a lot as in like squeamish, but it was a lot like, good God, like something else. I still really enjoyed it. My expectations were a little low too because I did not really enjoy the last one, the other big Stampede thing.
The one where Matt Hardy hit one of the Young Bucks with a golf cart. Was that?
Yeah.
Or no, it was Sammy Guevara got hit with a golf cart.
I didn't like that. This I really enjoyed. I love that they really sold it that Penta was injured, but that he comes out as another personality. People were not liking that. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the difference? Mankind comes out in the Royal Rumble, then Dude Love, then
Mick Foley got 3 entries in this in one Royal Rumble. I get it.
and not to dilute your point, because I actually kind of agree with you on this. It was a lot for a lot. It was whatever we could get in, let's do it in this match. That being said, I'm telling you, and I've said this so many times, what we used to talk about, like some of the people who play Call of Duty these days wouldn't be able to survive Modern Warfare 2 private chats. We talked about that in the car the other day.
Yeah.
Well, when I was driving in the car.
You were driving in the car. I wasn't in the car with you.
Yeah, you weren't in the car with me. The same
No.
people that are crying about just this kind of stuff couldn't survive one live event at ECW.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that, I like I said, I really enjoyed it. I will touch on your point. It was a lot, and I even texted you that I was like, man, this is a lot, but it's still really great. I love the skewers. I thought it was great. It's a great
It's
visual.
unnecessary,
It's
man.
to me it's not unnecessary, because everything in pro wrestling is unnecessary. When you jump on the top rope and you elbow drop on somebody, that's unnecessary. You talk about Shibata headbutting somebody and getting injured, how dangerous that is. Edge had a career-threatening injury when John Cena attitude adjustment off the ladder onto the table. Unnecessary. Mick Foley getting thrown off the Hell in a Cell. Unnecessary.
That table spot falling off Hell in a Cell. Yeah, it's not stabbing somebody in the head with a wooden skewer. Listen. If you're a fan of hardcore wrestling, if you're still a fan of that type of match, this is the match for you. Because again, I think we saw a broken glass bottle, we saw barbed wire, we saw chairs, I believe we saw kendo sticks in this match. We saw skewers, we saw people getting stabbed with forks. Even Orange Cassidy got some red in this match,
which I thought was great, and he got the cover.
Yeah, and he got the pin. So again, if you like that style, you will love this match. And when I was younger, like when you talked about like people jumping off the top rope being unnecessary.
Why don't you just say that you're old?
Listen, I am. I've said it from the get-go. I've grown out of it. Like even today, when I watched Charlotte Flair hit her patented moonsault from the top rope to the outside, I still freak out because, like, what if she blows out a knee? Like we've seen it with what's one of the guys in Top Flight that just blew out his knee or blew out his ankle, whatever it was.
You mean the guy that like tried to hop over the rope being 7 foot tall?
No, I'm talking from Top Flight. Dante Martin. When Dante Martin blew out his knee. Yes. When Ray Phoenix blew out his elbow.
He didn't blow out his knee.
Was it his ankle?
He messed up his ankle because he took a spot, Canadian Destroyer out on to the table.
So that's sort of my thing though. So like I cringe because I'm expecting that to happen every time somebody does something high risk. When I was a kid, I was mesmerized by it. That's how I can tell. So we talked about it earlier about promos, like taking one side of the promo, growing up and realize the other side of the promo is right. I used to be that guy that's, oh man, I was mesmerized by all the crazy stuff. And now I'm just terrified somebody's going to die. Like that's all it is.
I get that. But I guess it's one of those things where I've come to the conclusion that anything can hurt you in the ring. So might as well risk whatever. I mean, we got to remember Vince McMahon tore his quads getting into the ring.
Shane McMahon tore his quads trying to leapfrog Miz.
And yeah, they were a little bit older, whatever. I just think, I think that wrestling is not always going to be here. So risk it while you can and risk it while we're interested. Because the way the world is, one of the biggest quotes from a movie that is somehow going to link up to wrestling, I'm going to make it link up to wrestling, is in Jurassic World, where she says, let's be honest, nobody's excited by a dinosaur anymore. So it's one of those things where it's like, let's be honest, no one's excited by a cage match anymore. So you have to do more to propel yourself. And that's the danger, by the way, because it's like, well, we jumped off the 10-foot ladder. Now we jump off a 20-foot. Now we jump off a 30-foot. But while we're still connected to this thing that we love, and while some hardcore fans are still connected to this, let's do let's do it before it really dies out. And I'll probably get to I'll get to a time too where I'm just like, ah, man, that's a lot. But to hear things like, that was unnecessary to do. It's like in Suplex City the other day, somebody said, that spot shouldn't have happened, and I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about every spot ever in a hardcore match. I mean, like,
That was the spot with Braun Breaker and Von Wagner that you see the actual camera angle. He didn't connect with his head.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
not at all. So like people crying about that, it's like, come on, man, learn how to use your pause button and just read. It's not hard, but like that's why I laughed at it, by the way. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, but everything in pro wrestling is dangerous and unnecessary. It's just the way it is.
yeah.
I mean, it's just what happens.
Well, I
That
mean,
being that being said, I still agree with you. It was a lot.
you mentioned do it while you can. This next match features somebody who is doing it while she can. The AEW Women's Championship is on the line as Saraya. Saraya, aka WWE's Paige, defeats Hikaru Shida, Tony Storm, and Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and wins her first AEW Women's Championship. Her family walks her out to the ring. I believe she comes out to a
We will rock you.
Queen song. We will. Yep. They come in and celebrate after she wins. I wish she had gotten a little more time by herself. But this is her first women's championship since pre-final neck injury that said that she was going to be permanently disqualified from wrestling ever again. So,
And let me tell you something. She didn't have to fall off a 20-foot ladder to get that injury. It just happens in pro wrestling.
yeah, listen, I don't think that Saraya is going to hold the title very long. I also don't think she's going to be that fighting champion. I think they're going to protect her as they have been. I think her gimmick group with Tony Storm and Ruby Soho, sorry. I think that's sort of fading out with the storyline they've got with Tony Storm now. It's a really funny gimmick. I love the Tony Storm thing. But they're going to have to do something to sort of protect Saraya here because she hasn't been competing week in and week out. And I don't expect her to all of a sudden now that she's the champion. But PJ, I think the right person won here. She's in her home country in Wembley Stadium when she thought she'd never wrestle again. Here she is winning a women's championship. The right person won. How'd you feel about the match?
Oh, it was a 5-star match, which is hard to give to Fatal 4-Ways. This match was spectacular, and women's wrestling is amazing right now. In every in Stardom, in WWE, and it exists in this match. This was tremendous. The story of Saraya, winning with Queen and her family coming out and all that. We're in Wembley. The moment was correct. It was short and sweet too. We went 8 minutes and 50 seconds, but still they managed to do an incredible match. I loved it. Loved the match.
Yeah, good match here. They had the right 4 women in the ring. I don't think any of the other women in the locker room could have put on the match that these 4 did. So shout out to them.
I would have liked to see. Yeah, all 4 women did an amazing job. I do think all 4 women were but I like that chemistry of having a monster in there. Someone like if it was a Jade or like a Nyla Rose, if she was in the ring.
Don't you put that evil on me. Nyla Rose is awful. Don't you put that evil on me.
I like Nyla Rose. She's good. Like I've always liked the woman, and that's probably why I like Nia Jax a little bit too. I like that monster woman. That's why I like Bull Nakano too. She was like a monster woman. I kind of like that aspect.
Have you seen Nia Jax lately?
Yeah.
Have you seen Nia Jax lately?
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
She's lost a ton of weight.
Yeah, she has.
She looks fantastic. Not that she was bigger, obviously she was a bigger woman before. You just talked about her like being like this monster powerhouse. But kudos to her because she's gotten in the gym and she's gotten after it. But
yeah, I've seen her, but I miss her with those thick thighs. I mean, I miss the thighs.
I'm sure
he doesn't send me pictures anymore. I don't know what's going on.
I hear you. Listen, great women's match here, followed up by a so-so tag team match. I enjoyed it. Darby Allin and Sting in a coffin match where only one person has to go in there.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like the fact that it was an actual, like, a coffin that you would, like, I don't know, very unimaginative. Swerve Strickland goes in the casket or goes in the coffin. The door shuts. They call the bell, but his hair's still sticking out. So they like in between that, they got to pull his hair back in so he doesn't show him. Um, Darby Allin continues to try to kill himself. You talk about guys that do it while they can. Darby Allin is a modern day cruiserweight Mick Foley is all I can
Absolutely.
just. He is Spike Dudley 2023 is what Darby Allin
Absolutely.
is.
Except he wins matches. poor Spike. Although I did tell you, I was like, Spike Dudley has a pinfall victory in 2 seconds over William Regal for
Have
the.
you seen? There's a reel or a TikTok going around of just Spike Dudley getting absolutely wrecked
So I
everywhere.
don't have TikTok, but I have seen that on like the YouTube Shorts or whatever. He's just getting wrecked by like Lesnar, everybody.
He's
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
choke slammed over the top. He's taking like back body drops and he's hitting like back, like taking flat back bumps over the top. I don't get it, man.
Yeah,
How'd you feel about?
you texted me and you said Darby Allin's going to kill himself one day, and I just looked down at my phone and immediately I put in quotation marks. Mick Foley's going to kill himself one day. Spike Dudley's going to kill himself one day. Like but I
You
agree with
did.
you, man. But maybe Darby's like, I will do this while I can because I'm not going to do this wrestling crap forever. Yeah, the match was great. I still think they're using. I remember saying, and I'm putting my foot in my mouth here, and I'll admit that Sting just needs to. When I think that AEW is doing too much with Sting and it's getting to the point of like, man, this is like Undertaker and Goldberg almost. They're able to, and maybe it's just Steve being Steve, but they're able to completely 180 and just do a fantastic job with him. And it's always weird to see. Hold on, I'm getting my toy box for my dog because she's scratching at me.
That's all good, man. I'm with
But
you though.
But so, and by the way, we get we get them coming out to Seek and Destroy off Metallica's first record, Kill 'Em All, which was one of the last WCW theme songs that Sting had. Man, when he said
That was
Showtime
awesome.
and then we hear that riff, I jumped off the couch. I was
Oh
like,
yeah, dude.
yeah, oh, it was so good.
A Mark too.
I'm sure
Yeah,
Jordan Jordan's a huge Metallica fan. I make fun of him
yeah.
for it all the time.
It was
Um,
great.
but yeah, it was a great match. I will say that I would have loved to see. Was it AR Fox? It was supposed to be. Yeah, I would have loved to see AR Fox instead of Christian. But visa issues happen. Same thing with Ray Phoenix. He couldn't make it. Visa things happen. To the people that are like, well, they should have checked up on that. Visa issues can happen. You can check on your visa issue yesterday.
Becky Lynch just got prevented from going to Saudi Arabia because she had a tiny tear in her passport. That's all it took.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, hey, am I good to go? Yep, you're good to go. Then the next day, you're not. Visa issues happen like this.
Yeah.
Google is a really strong tool, and you should use it. But yeah, let's move on. Great match. I liked it.
Yeah, we're running late, and I want to get to the curtain call because we got a fun curtain. We haven't done a curtain call in probably 2 months. So,
oh yeah, I'm really happy with this curtain call.
Next match on the card: Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho. I think we can both agree that this match showed that it's time for Chris Jericho to hang it up.
He was moving a little slow, but there was also times where it was like he recovered and he was moving like he was in the mid 2000s. But I will say that he did hang with Ospreay more than what I thought he was going to, without a doubt.
I'm with you. Ospreay carried this match. I think Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world, top 5 right now. And
most
so
definitely.
he was able to carry that match because Jericho looked really bad at times. Next match on the card, the penultimate match, we get the Acclaimed and a returning Billy Gunn storyline. Billy Gunn had retired, and House of Black took his boots from the Acclaimed, and now he comes back and said, there's a badass coming to Wembley Stadium. And so you get the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn taking on the House of Black for the AEW Trios Championship. And the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn goes over. Billy Gunn, I don't know how old he is, but Billy Gunn is a Trios champion in AEW. I thought it was a decent match. I think the right guys went over. What say you, PJ?
I agree, although I didn't really like the match. It to me, this one felt really clunky and not botchy in any way. That's not fair. But to me, yeah, it was just a little clunky to me. I wasn't that into it. And by the way, I want to mention, we talked about, how long this pay-per-view is, and a lot of people talk about there's too many matches, but that crowd was hot from opening bell to the end of the bell. I mean, and even during this match, I was like, this is kind of your cooler match. Hell no, it wasn't. This crowd was
They were
hot.
all over it.
But yeah, the match was okay. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed every match on the card, including the Punk Joe match. It was, what it was. But yeah, this is still good. It was good.
Well, we reached to the main. We reached our way to the main
Oh,
event.
by the way,
here.
I want to mention here before we move on, we had a great Bray Wyatt tribute in this match with the House of Black dropping the
they bring the lantern to the
down,
ring.
the lantern. Well, no, they don't bring it to the ring. They go.
Well, they bring it out in their
ramp,
entrance,
and then they put it down. Love that. Me and you texted during that, and I was like, "Yo, that tribute was great." Actually, you might have said that, but I just wanted to mention that on the show. That was fantastic. I loved it.
Great tribute for Bray Wyatt. Next up is the main event, the AEW World Championship. MJF defending against Adam Cole. MJF goes over this match. This match is called by like a double pin, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that ends it in the draw. Cole says 5 more minutes. MJF says no. The crowd's booing. He's like, this match doesn't need 5 more minutes. We're going to have a finish in effing Wembley. And so they fight to the end. MJF wins it with a small package, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And very anticlimactic finish because these two guys went after it, man. I absolutely loved. I can't say it enough. This match. After the match is over, MJF tries to sort of like console Adam Cole. Cole, is pushing him away. He's like, listen, I got lucky. Here, we still got these. And he throws the Ring of Honor tag title away. And MJF screaming at him, you know what? You never cared about me. You never gave a crap about me. And paraphrasing, just go ahead and do it. And threw him the title. Like, if you want the title here, take the title, threw the AEW title at him. Turned his back and basically told Adam Cole to hit him in the back of the head. We're thinking, are we finally going to get the heel turn? We don't. Adam Cole has a change of heart. They hug it out. And we celebrate as MJF retains his championship over his best friend, Adam Cole. I thought this match was phenomenal, PJ. What say you?
I hated it.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. I loved it.
Oh, man, you got me.
No, I loved it. I loved it from start to finish. And, you skipped over a few things there, with Roger Strong coming out and saying, like, I'm your friend. I'm here for you. And Cole's still choosing not to hit MJF with the belt. When they hit that double count out, the double pin, I was like, there's no way this is happening. Like, all I could think of was like, man, I'm about to jump on that hate AEW train because this is insane. And then we got to back up a little bit here because a couple months ago, maybe 2 months ago, when Cole fought MJF and they went to a draw, Cole just kept begging for 5 more minutes, and it didn't happen. Now we get that long-term storytelling with Wembley. I'm doing this because I'm right next to my TV. It's like it's on. Like I'm watching.
It's right there. He's sitting right there. He's asking for 5 more minutes.
I don't know why I keep doing it because it's right here, but that's why I can't do this show in the living room. I gotta be in my spot. That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, so 5 more minutes, and then we long-term storytelling. We get that, and then like the crowd just pops for that. It's amazing to see. And you know me, I'm not a big fan of the Gaga. I loved the Gaga at the end. I loved it. And by the way, I have no problem with it ending in a small package because all it takes is 3 seconds in a wrestling match. These guys wrestled for 30 minutes. How did Steamboat and Savage end?
Was it a roll up?
It was a small package. One of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. Small package. It's okay.
I mean, listen, I'll take your word for it, man.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you, did you expect it?
No, I didn't.
Good.
That's fair.
Good. The false finishes were great, but when's it going to end? It's not going to end with a false finish. It's not going to end with a finisher. It's going to end with MJF only needing 3 seconds and a roll up to get Adam Cole. Now, the Gaga at the end, I was like, man, what are we doing here? But honestly, I found myself really smiling and loving it. And I love the, it's just about the belt. It's just that you don't even care about me. You only care about the belt. And I hated to admit how much I loved it. This match is 10 stars. It was so well done. And it's funny that we don't get that expected, predictable ending of like, well, MJF's just going to turn heel or Cole's just going to turn heel. They're still best friends. It's great. I love it. It's
going to make the heel turn whenever it inevitably happens. It's going to make it that much more intense for it.
Most
Um,
definitely. And I mean, I gotta ask you before we move on here, where do you rank? I mean, how many stars do you give this entire pay-per-view, man?
I was about to ask the same question. I'm giving it at least 4.5.
Oh,
Uh,
it's a 5-star pay-per-view for me.
the only reason I don't give it 5 stars because Voldemort was the opening match on the card.
See, I'm happy with that because we got it out of the way.
Well,
I even said that. I was like, thank thank the Dark Lord this guy is coming up so that it's done. I don't have to deal with him anymore.
I mean, I thought it was
And
a fantastic. Listen,
now I really don't have to deal with him anymore.
well, listen, we've talked on the show in the past about AEW pay-per-views going too long. This was the perfect length. It wasn't too long. I
I agree.
didn't feel like I was sitting at my TV for 8 hours. I still had energy to go do stuff afterwards.
Well, you
Especially
weren't
it was in
sitting in front of
London.
your TV at all, you know.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But
I'm sorry.
nevertheless, yeah, you
Sorry.
bum. But yeah, no, fantastic show. If you get the chance and you can find the means to do it, go out and watch AEW All In because it was absolutely worth it. We're gonna do our last ad read, so to speak, and then we're gonna get to our first curtain call that we've done in quite some time. And our ad goes to One Stop Repairs, established in 2008. One Stop Repairs in North Charleston, South Carolina, is your one-stop shop for all your electronic repair needs. Specializing in cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and game consoles, One Stop Repairs offers reputable and quality service with the quickest turnaround time and the most competitive prices in the Low Country. You can find them on Google with an exceptional 4.9-star rating or on Facebook by searching for One Stop Repairs. Call Zach for a quote today at 843-343-6310. That's the number One Stop Repairs. PJ, it's our first curtain call that we've done in a while. And since we're talking about a show at Wembley Stadium, as I get my notes out, we are talking the top 5 matches that took place in another country, meaning outside of the United States. I only have 4, and I don't really have them ranked in any specific order. So PJ, why don't you give us one of your matches, one of the top 5 matches you have that took place outside of the United States?
Killer. So, mine are kind of out of order too, because it's all. I mean, it's all opinion based. I don't have a 1 through 5 kind of thing. I just named off 5 of my favorites, and the one that comes to mind is one that we're going to be talking about pretty soon in my time machine. It's Shawn Michaels versus British Bulldog, one night only in '97. This is for the European champion. This was one of the coolest matches in the UK, and one of the coolest matches of that era. Some Gaga because you still had your DX, and you still had your Heart Foundation, but it was still a really, really well done match.
Yeah, I'm gonna see that, and I'm gonna throw out a match that wasn't a great match, but the atmosphere to that match was phenomenal, and that was, I believe, it was WrestleMania X7. The Rock taking on Hollywood Hogan. That crowd was electric for that match in
Oh my
Toronto.
God, that was in Toronto. I was like,
It was
that
in
wasn't. Yeah, you're
Toronto,
right. It was in Toronto. You were absolutely
and
right.
that match was absolutely electric. That's my 5th match. I didn't write that down, but it's
Yeah.
something that came to me.
Oh, so it just came to you?
Yeah, phenomenal show. Phenomenal match. Considering that, like, you got the crowd. Hogan was the heel, and the crowd was not letting him be the bad guy that night. Just a great crowd for that match.
Yeah.
PJ,
Let's not forget that Hogan ran a truck into an ambulance
that The
that
Rock was
The
in.
Rock was in the night the go home edition of WrestleMania.
Toronto didn't care,
and they were still cheering for Hogan. I love
Toronto
that.
did not care. PJ, give me another one.
You got it. So next one that I have is Cactus Jack versus Big Van Vader in Germany, 1994. This is just a WCW house show that went on in '94. If you get a chance, it's on YouTube. It's on par with their Japanese matches and a lot of their matches, like at Starrcade '94 that year. Still, great match, and this is the match where Cactus Jack gets his ear torn off. So you could see that in the rope spot.
Great stuff. I'm gonna get this one out the way. Okada versus Kenny Omega, Wrestle Kingdom 11. Quite possibly one of the best matches in Wrestle Kingdom history, New Japan history. Just I can't say enough about this match. Absolutely phenomenal. Go out of your way to see it. PJ, give me a third.
By the way, it was really hard for me not to make all 5 of these matches just New
I
Japan
knew it
matches.
was.
So
I knew it
I
was.
did try to throw in some variety there. I could have chose, Osprey Omega Wrestle Kingdom this past year. I could have chose, um, you know, my boy Sonata taking on anyway. But actually, my third match was that Omega versus Okada Wrestle Kingdom 11. So
How about that?
that match is phenomenal. With Omega, I mean, Omega finally getting Okada at Dominion that year. They went, the series of 3. That match was amazing, and that whole series was terrific. So I highly recommend looking it up. There's a great YouTube channel. Well, it's the New Japan YouTube channel, but it's commentated, no pun intended, by Kevin Kelly. He narrates the whole thing, and it talks about the entire series of Okada and Omega. So it's on YouTube. Check it out.
My third match, you talked about Shawn Michaels and Bulldog. I'm gonna give you a Bulldog versus Bret Hart, Wembley Stadium, 1992 for the Intercontinental Championship. I probably took another one that you had.
Yeah,
Um,
that was my number 2.
yep. This match, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was British Bulldog's only Intercontinental Championship run.
Yeah.
You talked about a finish. He hits basically like the Hurricane Rana pin, and brings Bret Hart's feet all the way down to the mat, and gets the pinfall victory over Bret Hart at Wembley Stadium. Just a phenomenal. I mean, for years they argued that this was the best European wrestling match ever,
Yeah. It's it's
especially at
it's
WWE.
it's a great match. The story at the end is great. They hug it out, and um, I love it. There's a British Bulldog Funko Pop that I keep wanting to buy, and I just keep walking past it. British Bulldog is another guy that I think should have had the belt. I even liked his run. We talked about this. I even liked his run in '99 where he came back. The '99 2000 where he had the jeans on and stuff. It was weird, but it was still really entertaining.
He
And British
was
Bulldog to me is still very missed, and a fantastic talent and a great wrestler who should have had that world title and should have had a little bit of a better run, in my opinion.
he was dealing with that bad back
Yeah,
after
he had a
hitting
bad
the
back.
trap door and couldn't get into his tights.
Mhm.
Yeah, unfortunate the way that it ended for Davey Boy Smith.
But
Um,
I'm curious to hear what's your number 1.
I don't. I've still got 2 more.
Oh, do you? Oh, I'm on number 1.
Well, because I've called out 2 of yours, I
Oh, go ahead.
suppose.
So yeah, what's your number 2? Sorry.
I've got Gunther versus Sheamus at Clash at the Castle. I mean, these guys beat the absolute crap out of each other. Was for a solid 20 minutes. We talked about it. We reviewed that show on this show.
Mhm.
And I think that was also the show that McIntyre and Roman closed it out, and we thought that it was the right time for McIntyre to take it, but obviously not. So I have to go Gunther Sheamus at Clash of the Castle. I'll give you my number 1 since I don't know what your number 1 is. You know what? Give me your number 1 so that if you take mine, then we'll just pretend
Uh,
like
I'm definitely not taking yours.
take it.
My
Let me
number
see it.
my number 1, The Fiend and Goldberg, Saudi Arabia.
Is that a troll?
Yeah, no, that's not my number 1. My number 1 to me is one of the greatest pro wrestling matches of all time. It is in my top 3 favorite matches. Might be number 1 behind Sting and Vader, Slamboree '94, which we've always talked about. This is Wrestle Kingdom 9. Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. This match is, it is spectacular from bell to bell. It tells an amazing story of a student versus teacher kind of thing. It is strong style defined. I highly recommend checking it out. Pay the $9 just to watch this match on New Japan World and then cancel if you want to. It'll be worth $20. The match is phenomenal. Wrestle Kingdom 9, Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Intercontinental Champion. Bar none, greatest match.
Most of my matches had to do with the atmosphere, like Hogan Rock at WrestleMania, um, Bret Hart and Bulldog. I mean, Bulldog was the British hero. Um, Canadian Stampede '97. We've already talked about it on the show in your
Yeah.
time machine. It was the fact that the Canadians completely flipped WWE on its head for a night, where Bret Hart and the Hart Foundation were anti-American and pro-Canadian and the bad guys in the United States. and the good guys, Steve Austin and company, got booed out of the arena as the Hart Foundation goes over in, I believe it was Calgary, correct? So yeah, just absolutely phenomenal show.
Yeah. We just
But
talked
yeah,
about that. Yeah, that
yeah,
match is is awesome.
yeah. PJ, we are definitely up against it. We've gone super late. Um,
Oh God, yeah, we have. I just saw the time. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. Let's knock it out. Thank you guys so much for joining us. All the comments that we have today, I think this is one of the better shows where we had a lot of comments coming in, and I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the very end. We've got a lot more content coming up to you. We just had an amazing weekend of wrestling where we had Payback, which was terrific, and then we had All Out, which was equally as good. We're getting some New Japan content coming up because we're on the road to destruction, which means we're on the road to Wrestle Kingdom. And then, of course, we're going to jump back in the time machine where we're going to be talking about One Night Only, the pay-per-view that we just kind of talked about. And we're getting hotter and hotter into the month of October and November, where we'll be on the road to WrestleMania soon. And the 97 era, where we'll talk about Bad Blood. Then we'll talk about, of course, the Royal Rumble in January and go on from there. So a lot of content coming your guys' way the next couple weeks, and we're gonna have some time to record a lot because I'm still on quarantine.
I guess
So
we're gonna have to record some non-live shows. Yeah, shout out,
yeah,
like PJ said, shout out to Joe, Volley Polly, Pedro, Mama Frick, the rest of those who left reactions on Facebook. Fuzi B, Bill Tomer was here for a little bit. Kirk Williams, a lot of people coming in showing some love to the show. Not just wrestling content. The Carolina Panthers podcast that I do, the Cat Cave, over on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, also part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network. I know that's a lot to say. Michael Davis will be back with me sooner rather than later. He's still getting over a little illness, so still continuing to wish him well, but he'll be back with us on the show. Panthers week 1, they dropped the ball, so to speak. Well, Bryce Young did, as the Panthers lose their opening game to the Atlanta Falcons. So we're going to be able to talk about that on the Cat Cave, as well as, again, week 1 in pro and fantasy football, week 2 in college football. Banker Bill and I should be going live this Wednesday night to talk all things from the week that was in football. And we'll have another guest picker to help pick games. Shout out to Big Tex, who went 5-0 in picks over the weekend. JD Spence absolutely killing it on picks, and we'll have more to come this Wednesday.
Is that the JD that we know?
Yep, it sure is. He went 5-0
Nice.
in football picks.
Good for him. I don't know what that means, but I'm happy for him, and I hope. I always liked JD. He was always a cool guy. Wait, real quick, when you talked about dropping the ball, all I could think of was that stupid scene in The Water Boy where the coach is like, and he drops the ball, and the other team has the chance to pick it up and dust it off before running to the other side of the end zone. Like that's, I guess, The Water Boy is the only like movie that I know that I'm like football. Oh, I guess, and The Longest Yard.
No, that's fair enough. But
I'm gonna be your water boy for your fantasy, and then you can look at me and go, "I got a wooden spoon," like in the movie.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Well, with that being said, what a way to wrap up the show. Thanks everybody for joining us this week for our wrestling show. Stay tuned for some more content, both on the Cat Cave as well as the football show later this week, and everything that PJ said earlier about the wrestling stuff we've got coming up. So for PJ Steven, it's your guy Bully Rye. Thanks, and we'll see you next time right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.